So I have just alighted at the glorious Crystal Palace station. I'm about to embark upon a fantastic walk today. This is another special one. They're all special, aren't they? But I'm really looking forward to this today. And the views from up here are just incredible, really, just stunning. The train journey here was remarkable. Okay, so these are the signs that we'll be following today. Keep an eye out for them as we go. So today we're going back out on the Capital Ring, which is interesting because I've deliberately walked, I think, just 2 sections of the Capital Ring, but I'm walking along the Capital Ring all the time. So when I look at the route, I've done most of it in a video before. And actually the first part of this walk we're doing today is in the River Effra walk. And so today we're walking from Crystal Palace to Streatham Common. Quite a short walk, 4.5 miles, plus my little bit for getting lost, so call it 5.5. I'm recovering from a nasty cold. You can probably hear it a little bit in my voice, so I don't want to overdo it, but I need to get out here today, and it's just absolutely glorious weather. It's beautiful in the sun. We always get a day like this in February, and then it usually turns really nasty afterwards, but it's like spring. I picked up a full set of these Capital Ring maps about 20 years ago. I think in Islington Libraries, the one on Thornhill Square. And they're great maps. Like I said, I've used them a few times. I've taken them out on other walks which crossed across the Capital Ring. But it's really lovely to just dig into this stack of old maps and head off. And the Capital Ring's a kind of mini London Loop, if you like. It's 15 stages and it covers 72 miles, and the London Loop being 24 stages over, I think it's 150 miles. So if you find the London Loop a bit daunting or just a bit too far out, this is a good one to do instead. Like I say, most of the sections are no longer than sort of 5 or 6 miles, and some of them are even shorter, like 3.5. So it's, if you just got a couple of hours and you want to head out with some mates, it's a lot easier to get to than the London Loop. And just more glorious views from up here because we're so high up. It's just stunning all around from up here. We will be dropping down quite soon, but this is incredible, isn't it? There was a steep climb up here to Upper Norwood, which was once the peaceful countryside hamlet of Westow Hill, until they relocated the Crystal Palace from the Great Exhibition in Hyde Park to here, to the park here, and it transformed this to a railway suburb from the 1850s. But it still does have a little bit of that villagey feel. Look at this stunning view here from Brook Gardens. I've slightly lost my direction, but I think this is looking south out of London. I might be wrong, it might be looking east, actually, southeast. Either way, what a view. A little lane here, a little fragment of the old hamlet of Westow Hill. You can see this is a little meandering country lane, can't you? So this ornate kind of gate post or kind of gateway here is all that remains of the grand Walmer house, which sat up here with this, commanding this beautiful view on the edge of Westow Park, at a time when this would have been a very desirable countryside retreat. And now we enter Westow Park, as I did almost a year ago to the day when I started my walk along the River Effra here. So it is almost, I think it's exactly a year ago to the day that I came and I started my walk along the River Effra, which one of the branches of the Effra, I think, pretty much rises here beneath my feet, here somewhere, or certainly in this area of Westow Park. And that was a glorious, fantastic walk. I will link to that below. But what's interesting is the Capital Ring leaflet with information. It gives historical information. It told us about Walmer House here and Westow Park, the little village. It doesn't make any mention of the source of the Effra, which is interesting. There you go. Different things mean, but it actually does mention a little buried river later on, which is peculiar. Another one I've never heard of. There you go. College Green is an interesting name, which deserves a little bit of investigation after the walk. What's it that Maxwell says, the journey in the land of books that follows a walk. I do really enjoy doing walks where I don't have a lot of information, I have scant information, and when I do, when I've done the Capital Ring walks, I've tried to deliberately, and a little bit with the London Loop actually, just use the information that's on the freely publicly available leaflets, because it's indicative of what they think is important. You know, so like the absence of mentioning the Effra at all is odd, because here as we go across Upper Norwood Recreation Ground, that is also on the course of the Effra, and yet it warrants no mention, but they do divert us here to a drinking fountain, which is interesting. And it's a conversation I used to have a lot with Nick Papademetrio in our days of walking together, was how much you should know before a walk. You know, whether information can sometimes get in the way of a walk, but whether if you don't have enough, then you miss things that you wish you'd known about, and it's always difficult to get completely right. A lot of the time I find my research just helps me inform the route I want to take and where I want to go, and then you kind of have to give over to the experience and let go a little bit. You'll see from the videos on this channel there's a bit of a mixture actually. Somewhere it's highly prescribed and I am following my notes, and others where I go out and kind of see what I encounter. You know, you need a bit of both. So I think that's the TV mast up there, which marks the location of the original Crystal Palace. I could have my bearings completely wrong, and it could be the mast that is behind that tree, but that doesn't seem right. From memory, from that Effra walk, I think this is a remnant of a large area of common land that covered this part of Norwood. I could be wrong about that. If I am, I'll correct that on the screen. And this granite drinking fountain was installed in 1891 when this park was created. So we depart Upper Norwood Rec onto Eversley Road. I basically haven't left the house for about 5 days, maybe 6 days. I was in bed for 3 days. So today is a real treat. It feels incredibly therapeutic to be back out here in the sun, the beautiful sun and the fresh air. Can't tell you how good it feels. I love this bit of old signage here. I love these survivors, they're great, aren't they? Look at that font. So we've just climbed another steep hill here up Hermitage Road, and now we turn into Beulah Hill. Lots of hills, lots of hills. I can feel us descending though. More majestic views here of the city. You can see the Shard down there, shimmering by the Thames. The towers of the City of London. And now we turn into Biggin Hill. Obviously not the Biggin Hill of the airfield, but Biggin Hill S19. And we're looking for Biggin Hill Wood, which is down here somewhere. More stunning views here, looking across at the towers of Croydon there in the distance. So this path takes us into Biggin Wood, which is, wow, I think could be the highlight of the walk, apart from the coffee at the end. So Biggin Wood here is one of the few surviving remnants of fragments of the great North Wood, the vast wood that covered much of South London. You've got a few patches here and there, and I think Sydenham Woods, that's part of the old Great North Wood. So I think it feels like similar in scale to this actually. And there was a story in The Guardian about a fragment in Brockley, South London, called Biggin Wood, which has just been preserved by a local community campaign, which is great news. So you have to imagine this fragment of woodland here joining up with those other bits with Sydenham Wood and Biggin Wood, and there's some trees in a park not far from here, some old oak trees apparently are part of the Great Northwood. You have to imagine them covering this suburban South London all the way down to the banks of the Thames, or certainly to the marshy reaches of the Thames. It's a beautiful image, isn't it? And this is what would have happened to Epping Forest if it hadn't been preserved by the Corporation of London in the 1880s. It would have been nibbled away by urban growth, so it was just a series of small patches of woodland like this. That's why I'm ever grateful for Epping Forest, the preservation of Epping Forest. And the brilliant information boards here about the Great Northwood. Look at this, it's brilliant. It shows the extent of it here between sort of Deptford all the way down here to Selhurst through Streatham. It's a huge area, isn't it? 52 square kilometres. Sorry, but that is such a stunning view. It deserves another shot from the other side of Biggin Wood. Amazing. And Covington Way here is named after Stenton Thomas Covington, who was responsible for helping to preserve much of the open land in this area, including Norwood Grove, which is where we are heading next at the end of Covington Way. This is Norwood Grove with its Grade 2 listed mansion there at the top of the hill, which apparently has views of the North Downs, which I think we've already spotted actually from previous vantage points, but let's still admire the view. And here's the Grade 2 listed mansion at the top of the hill here. Apparently not open to the public, so I don't know whether it's flats now or some sort of care home perhaps. Can't really find anything about its past either, which is unusual. A house this size, you think it would have had an owner or an architect worthy of note, but not that I can find from a cursory glance. And here's the view out to the North Downs. It is stunning, absolutely stunning. I love this kind of Gothic-y lodge here, which would have been attached to the mansion. What a wonderful building. And also a marker for a little river. So apparently a tiny tributary of the River Graveny runs beneath the ground here. I'm not entirely sure where. It says just past the lodge. This ornate iron railing and a bridge may indicate that the brook once ran free here. There's also a little parish marker there. You can see that. And then just down here, look, there's a particularly boggy, muddy bit of ground here, which might indicate the course of a river. And the Capital Ring notes tell us that this is the last remaining field of the old village of Streatham. Not Streatham Common, which dominated, I guess, the open space, but this was a field that was part of the village, distinct from the oak woods that surrounded it. Of course, the real beauty of these walks, like the Capital Ring, is you don't have to stick doggedly to the route if you don't want to. Particularly the Capital Ring, I would say, because it goes through so many interesting parts of London. You might not want to stick doggedly to the path, and you can use it essentially as a guide to link places together. I would say it might be particularly true when we hit Streatham and Streatham Common, but, well, I mean, we are now, I think, now we are technically on the edge of Streatham Common, I think. Wow, this is quite a revelation. Like a brewery on the Capital Ring, the Ink Spot Brewery. I feel like I should find some of their beer in Streatham and use it to mark the walk. Feels appropriate, right? Here's a little bit of magic. The Rookery Gardens, which is the survivor of the old Streatham Spa. A medicinal spring where people would come and stay to drink the waters. It really is gorgeous, isn't it? Absolutely stunning little garden this, what a treasure. Wow, there's a real magic to that place there. So gorgeous. There must have been something in the waters here. And the final part of the walk takes us over Streatham Common, a glorious stretch of open common land, metropolitan common land preserved for the people. I find it really comforting in this age of rampant development of London that there is still so much open common land still here for us to use and enjoy. And when I was doing one of the chapters, the walks, one of the chapters of my book, in chapter 9, where I went from Vauxhall to Tooting Common, I kind of totaled it up and I worked out, I put the figure on the screen, but the area of common land in South London was equal, if not greater, than the square mile of the City of London, which is an interesting kind of counterpoint, isn't it? And nothing could it could embody the idea of ownership, land ownership, property ownership, capital more than the square mile. Well, probably actually Canary Wharf, but you know. And there we have and think about all the attention we give that. But down here in South London, there's an equal area of common land, just like this. So, well, I found that quite a beautiful and comforting idea. And God, Streatham Common's amazing, isn't it? It really is beautiful. I am finally, after all these years, I keep saying it on these South London walks, I am finally being won over by South London. It's taken 89, it's taken a long time. It's taken well over 30 something years. But 34 years. Because I'm finally being charmed by South London, thoroughly charmed. I've been charmed in patches in the past, but now I'm being beguiled by South London. Do you remember that time when people have been made fun of for calling Streatham St Wreatham? I think that was about 20 odd years ago, when Streatham was being, well, I'm not going to say it was being gentrified, because look at the size of the houses here. I think it's always quite gentrified, but I guess being re-gentrified by a new type of resident. And I don't know if anyone ever did that. I don't think that, but it was a nice joke. That was when I was working down in Brixton, so I remember there were quite a few people from Streatham there. Because really it should be Streatham, right? Streatham, not Streatham. Anyway, thank you for joining me on that beautiful section of the Capital Ring. Great walks. Get out there and do some bits of the Capital Ring. Really easy just to go on out there. I'll put a link below to the website with the maps on them. And yeah, I mean, that rounds up this fantastic walk. Not a long one, but a beautiful one. They don't always have to be epics to have value, do they? I'm going to wander across Streatham Common and find somewhere to sit down and have a cup of tea. So, thanks for my wonderful supporters on Patreon. Thanks to my channel members here on YouTube. And as I always like to say, and I will always go on saying, even though a few years ago I did consider trying to change my sign-off. Can you believe that now? And now people want mugs and t-shirts and all sorts with that on. So what a heresy that would have been. I look forward to seeing you on the next walk, wherever that may be. And you know, still, I don't really have any idea. I'm not sure. The River Graveny. How about the River Graveny? Might leave this bit in of me coming back to get the camera, because I don't think I did a walking shot in my last couple of videos, so there you go. Partly because of this, coming back to get the camera.